Hi everyone, good evening. Welcome to VenTalk Live. I'm Yiming, your MC for the evening. Very happy and thankful to have the opportunity to host tonight's episode of VenTalk, where we can learn and discuss about the Dharma. As you all know, applied accordingly, the Dharma can truly help us to eradicate suffering and achieve ultimate happiness. So it's always good to be able to hear and listen to the Buddha's teaching. So without further ado, let's get started. Good evening, Venerable.
Good evening, Yiming. Good evening, everyone.
Venerable, in last month's VenTalk, Venerable shared with us the benefits of taking refuge. And after listening to the past few VenTalks on taking refuge, I'm sure many of us would want to officially become a Buddhist and register for the next refuge ceremony. So, what will we be learning in tonight's VenTalk, Venerable?
Tonight, I will share with everyone the trainings of refuge, or put in another way, what we need to learn after taking refuge.
Venerable, I hear this word training that you said. Will the word itself put many people off from wanting to go for refuge? You know, some may be concerned that they have to undergo training after taking refuge. They might ask, do we have time for that? You know, our life is already very busy. And what happens if we train and we still cannot reach the standards that are required?
No, don't be scared when you hear the word training, okay, or like in our textbook, which also refers to them as precepts. As I say, the trainings are really the things that we need to learn after we have taken refuge. I'm sure that after you have taken refuge, you want to change yourself into a better person, a happier person using the Buddha's teachings, correct? Yeah, so if you want to improve yourself, that means you must train to become a better person. And to train, you must know what are the trainings of refuge. Okay, so another important thing that you need to know is because it is a training, okay, so therefore it is a gradual improvement process. You are not expected to achieve success and live up to the high standard immediately after you learn what the trainings are. It is a habit and behavior changing process. Okay, and then we all know how difficult it is to change our habits and behavior, right? Yeah, so you will need time, and the Buddha know that you will need time.
Okay. Yeah, it's a relief to know that we are not expected to live up to the standards set by Buddha immediately after we learn his teaching. And it's more such a gradual improvement process.
Yes. So don't let the high standards set by the Buddha put you off from taking refuge. Okay, and then another thing is to expect that during the learning process, you will meet with failures. Okay, but the important thing when you fail or you couldn't live up to the standard set is not to give up, but instead to learn from the failures to continue to improve from there. So in short, instead of avoiding taking refuge because you are discouraged by the seemingly high standards of refuge, you need to first know the benefits. This will give you courage and enthusiasm, and then you also need to be patient to give yourself time and devote regular time to learn. And the learning is actually not that difficult. Okay, if you join a Dharma center where there's an excellent teacher teaching you the excellent teachings, and then learning and guiding, the excellent teacher is guiding to you together with a group of fellow practitioners. It's not that difficult.
Okay, thank you, Venerable, for the encouragement. And I think your explanation really helps to reduce the fears and misconceptions that many of us people might have and who might be afraid to take refuge because they think that the trainings of refuge are difficult. Like I think in our everyday life, in essence, if we want to achieve many of our goals, we also have to undergo training in some way in order to get there. Maybe just like Joseph's schooling, in order to get his gold medal, right? We all know he had to undergo years of training from a young age, flying to the US in order to achieve his success. But Venerable, I still have one concern. If we cannot achieve the high standard laid out in the refuge training, won't we also accumulate negative karma because of that? In that case, is it better not to go for refuge? You know, at least if we don't take refuge, we won't get these negative karma.
No, that's a misconception. Okay, while it is true that you may create some negative karma during the learning process, but as you become better and better, okay, you become a better and better Buddhist through your learning, those negative karma that you create will become lesser and lesser. Okay, but if you compare to not taking refuge and not learning the trainings, you will forever be at the level you are at right now. Okay, which means that even though you do not incur the negative karma of not fulfilling the precepts of refuge, but you will be accumulating those negative karma that a Buddhist would not accumulate. And those negative karma will result you falling into the miserable realms which a Buddhist will not. And then on top of that, you will also not get the benefits of taking refuge, which I have covered in last month's VenTalk, of which the most important is to end this cycle of birth and death once and for all. Okay, besides, as a Buddhist, there are ways to repent and purify the negative karma of breaking the precepts of refuge. So it's not a foregone conclusion that you will have to suffer the negative effects.
Okay, thanks, Venerable. Yeah, it's very reassuring again to know that we can still purify these negative karma incurred because we did not observe the trainings properly. And like what the slide has shown, the pros of learning the trainings of refuge are aplenty. We will improve to become happier, wiser, and more compassionate. We can also create less and less negative karma by practicing the trainings correctly. And we can purify negative karma created, so you will not fall into the miserable realms. Our lives will also become much better and better, and we'll be liberated from cyclic existence and can achieve Buddhahood. We'll also get all the benefits for going for refuge. So I think in short, after weighing these pros that we see here and cons of taking refuge and not taking refuge, the overall benefits of taking refuge seem to far outweigh those that if we do not take refuge. So I think, yes, we can conclude that we should go ahead and take refuge despite having to train for life as a Buddhist.
Yes, even in the mundane world, achievements must come from putting in effort. Okay, people who achieve great things, okay, people like Edison, Einstein, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, they get to the position where they are through hard work. Okay, so that's why Edison has this very famous saying, right? Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. So even if there's someone who seems to achieve great things without effort, it's either because he didn't reveal the efforts that he put in, or he has already planted the causes of it in his previous life. Okay, things don't arise without any causes.
Yes. Thank you very much, Venerable, for clearing these misconceptions and continuing to encourage us. I think we're now ready to learn the trainings of refuge.
Okay, good. We will start with something that we have covered before, okay, and then hopefully you all have started doing already. Okay, so this is the one that you see in the PPT. Okay, whatever activity you engage in and whatever your purpose, make offerings and supplications to the three jewels, forsaking any other worldly methods. Translating this into everyday life, this is what you can start doing. Okay. Seek help from the Buddha in whatever things you do. After you wake up, take refuge and then make aspiration to be virtuous. Okay. Before your meals, make an offering to the Buddha and recall their kindness. Okay. Before you leave your house for work, pray for the journey to be safe. And then throughout the day, whenever you meet difficulties or whenever you need help, take refuge and pray to the Buddha. And then at the end of the day, before you sleep, take refuge and then pray to the Buddha to repent your non-virtuous actions. And then also to thank the Buddha for the good things that happened that day.
Yes, I think, Venerable, you covered this well during April's VenTalk. And I myself have also started some of these activities that we learn.
Yes, that's a very good start. And then if you look at what you need to do, actually it's really to always think of the Buddha, throughout the day, starting from the moment you wake up until you go to bed. Yeah, we need to learn how to rely on the Buddha in our daily life, and that's how we can start learning how to do that. All these points here you see in the PPT. And it's actually a something that is quite easy to do because we always need to rely on someone in our life. Yeah. Okay, so there's something that you can start practicing. Okay, next we will look at how we should learn, okay, to act with regards to the three jewels. Okay, so it's divided into two main parts: what to do towards the three jewels, and then what not to do. Okay, so let us look at what to do regarding the three jewels. Okay, so the first one is to treat all images, the images of the Buddha, as object of reverence. Okay, so we need to treat all images, as Buddhists, we need to treat all images of the Buddha as objects of reverence, as objects of respect, as if that image is the Buddha himself. Yeah, so if you do that, then some of the things that you can do will be, if you have images or statues of the Buddha at home, place them in a respectful place, okay, such as a shrine or an altar, especially for praying and making offerings to the Buddha. Okay, and then keep the altar and the Buddha's images and statue clean. Do not treat Buddha's images and statues as art pieces to decorate your home. Okay, and then one more thing, do not place Buddha's images and statues in disrespectful places, such as in the toilet or on the floor. Okay, so that is the first, to treat images of the Buddha as object of reverence. Then the second one, never show disrespect for writings on the teachings. Okay, so similarly for sutras and scriptures, treat them as precious objects. Okay, keep them clean and tidy when you are using them. Okay, and then when you are not using them, do not leave them lying around. Okay, but to keep them properly in the bookshelf, preferably on the top shelf, above your other mundane words books. Okay, and then do not read the scriptures in disrespectful places such as the toilet. And then do not place them on the floor, carry them under your armpit, okay, or carry them together with dirty things such as your shoes.
Okay. Venerable, I have two questions. In today's context, these scriptures and sutras can be stored digitally in our phone or other devices. And sometimes these devices may follow us into places like the toilet. So are there any restrictions or things to note in this respect? And the second question I have is, also, what happens if I'm myself in a public place? I have a scripture sutra with me, but I really need to go to the toilet. What should I do then?
Okay, your first question. Yes, it's okay to bring your devices into the toilet even if you have stored digital copies of scriptures in them. Okay, but do avoid reading the scriptures in the toilet. Some people have this habit of reading while doing their big business. So you want to avoid doing that with the scriptures. Okay, so you read them after you finish your business and then you come out of the toilet. And then remember to wash your hands. Okay, for the second question, yes, you can keep the scripture in your bag before you bring it into the toilet. Okay, so if you are out alone, you just keep the scripture in your bag and then you can bring that into the toilet. That's not a problem. Okay, but the really important thing is to build up this habit of treating scriptures and objects of the three jewels with respect. Okay, you treat them as precious objects and you treasure them most. Okay, so once you have this habit, even if external circumstances doesn't allow it, you will still be able to be respectful when you're handling them. Okay, so let's go back to the third point. Okay, the third one is never despise members of the community. The community here refers to the Sangha, the renunciates, monastics, or those who merely possess the symbols of a practitioner of virtue. Okay, so what this means is to respect all monks and nuns. As long as they are wearing the robes of monks and nuns, we respect them. And this also includes those monks and nuns who seems to you like they are not practicing the teachings well, okay, such as bad-tempered monastics, or those who don't seem to know the teachings well, and those who seems to have broken the precepts.
Venerable, that's a bit confusing. Why should we respect monks and nuns who break the precepts? They're giving Buddhism like a bad name, so I don't think they deserve to be monks and nuns, and so they don't deserve our respect.
No, that is a wrong view. Okay, there are actually many reasons why we have to respect all monks and nuns, regardless of whether we think they are good practitioners or not. Okay, firstly, when we hear or see news, read news about monastics not behaving according to expectation, that news may not be true. Okay, especially now on social media, there are many fake news or distorted news designed to create sensation. Even if the news comes from trustworthy sources, it likely only contains a partial picture of what really happened. Okay, so we can't really be sure that what we see or what we read, what we hear, is fair to the monastic in question. Okay, secondly, in order to help deviant people, okay, bodhisattvas sometimes will employ means that appear unconventional. So one well-known example is 济公活佛. 济公, I have, you see that in the slide, right? Yeah, he behaved erratically, such as being drunk and unkempt. But because he's like that, he's able to get close to corrupt officials. He's able to get close to thieves and murderers to help them. Such people will not find comfortable or even willing to listen to conventional teachers. Okay, so if we are respectful or even worse, criticize such bodhisattvas, we will create strong negative karma for ourselves.
Okay, I got it. Thanks for sharing these great learning points, Venerable. I think what it boils down to is that, we ourselves do not know the full picture, and thus we should not make assumptions. Yeah, I remember last time a student in class told me a story that once she was on a crowded bus and she saw a young lady sitting on a seat with an elderly woman standing beside her. So she started to have all kinds of negative thoughts towards the young lady. Then when the bus stopped, the young lady alighted from the bus, and that is when she saw that the young lady was limping and had to walk with the aid of crutches. So this student, she reflected that if she had alighted earlier than the young lady, she would have left with lasting wrong impressions of her. Yeah, so we should not make assumptions. And I think as Buddhists, we should also be respectful to all, and it is no difference in this instance.
Yes, as Buddhists, we need to be humble and be respectful to everyone, taking the approach that we still do not have the wisdom to see the situation as it really is, as it actually is, will help us avoid creating negative karma of being arrogant and spreading untruthful hearsay about the three jewels. Okay, there's actually one more reason why we should still be respectful. Okay, and then to me, that's the most persuasive reason. Okay, is that the monastic robes are the symbol of the Buddha. The Buddha wore the monastic robes when he was alive. The Buddha's noble disciples throughout the ages who gained enlightenment also wear monastic robes. So the robes are a powerful symbol which inspire faith and hope for many people, Buddhists as well as non-Buddhists. Okay, so when we respect monastics, we are actually respecting what the robes he's wearing represents. It's like the flag of a country. The flag is a symbol of a country. And we will pay respect to the Singapore flag whenever we see it, right? Whether is it in good condition or whether is it torn and tattered, or whether it's carried by a loyal Singaporean or carried by a foreigner. When we see the flag, we will pay respect to the flag. Yeah, so it's the same thing. When we see a monk or a nun, we pay respect to know what he or she represents. Okay, finally, when we respect a monk or nun, okay, we are creating good karma for ourselves. If we are disrespectful, we are creating negative karma for ourselves. The karma that you create doesn't depend on whether the monk is a good monk or a bad monk. It depends on how much respect you give to the three jewels.
Yes, I think, come to think of it, it's important that we learn to create positive karma, whether the object deserves our respect or not. Why create bad karma for yourself when it is someone else not behaving properly? So that would be most laughable.
Yes, precisely. As Buddhists, we want to be able to create positive karma for ourselves under all circumstances. Respecting the three jewels will enable us to create immense virtuous karma because the three jewels are merit fields. Okay, so don't miss out on the opportunity. But having said that, we should still only learn from a monk or nun who is teaching and behaving according to the correct teachings. If a monk or nun is giving teachings contrary to what the Buddha taught, we shouldn't learn from them. However, there is not a reason to show disrespect or criticize them. We can still respect them, okay, but keep our distance from them.
Yes. I think we all want to learn from excellent teachers, giving the proper teaching and not to be led astray by wrong teachers. If they are not teaching or behaving according to the teachings, we shouldn't learn from them. But we can still benefit ourselves by respecting them because that will create positive karma for ourselves. But Venerable, I have one more concern, which is, when we see monastics who are misbehaving and giving Buddhism a bad name, shouldn't we speak up and defend the image of Buddhism? I feel keeping quiet just because we are afraid of creating bad karma for ourselves seems to be a selfish behavior to me.
For me, I will still take the cautious approach. Okay, as I said earlier, can you really be sure that what you read or what you hear is the complete picture? Or are you just basing on hearsay? Should you find out the complete picture first, personally from the monastic in question, to get the whole picture first before you speak up publicly or advertise his or her misbehavior? Then secondly, do you have the wisdom to know that by speaking up, you will benefit Buddhism as a whole? Or instead, you are only causing Buddhists to lose faith in Buddhism and then non-Buddhists to have a bad impression of Buddhism? And then are you prepared to suffer the consequences of the negative karma you have created for yourself if you have gotten it wrong? So I think these are all factors that need to be considered. Yeah. Then finally, speaking up and being disrespectful need not necessarily come together. If you have already considered all factors and then decided to speak up, you can still remain respectful while speaking up. Yeah, his or her misbehavior is not a reason for you to be disrespectful when you speak up.
Oh, yeah, I must admit, I didn't consider so broadly. Yeah. On second thought, I think most people will find it difficult to remain respectful when we are speaking up. Because most of the time when we speak up, because we're angered by others not behaving for what we think we should be the correct behavior. I think the anger will really get the best of us when we speak up.
Yes, yeah, as long as we have not eliminated our afflictions, as long as we have not fully developed our wisdom and compassion, we really need to be cautious about our reaction to other people's actions that don't quite agree with us. Yeah. Okay, so let us go on to what not to do with regards to the three jewels. Okay, so the first one is not going to other deities for refuge. So after taking refuge in the Buddha, we do not want to take refuge in other gods and deities. In other words, we do not worship other gods. We do not ask those spirits. Okay, we do not go to mediums and ask for guidance from them or follow their teachings to live our life. Okay, and then the second one, after taking refuge in the Dharma, we want to stop harming living beings or having harmful thoughts about them. Okay, so that will be, we need to abandon harm and malice towards living beings. Okay, and then the third one, after taking refuge in the Sangha, we want to stop relying on non-Buddhist practitioners.
Venerable, for the last point, is it quite impossible to do? Because let's say I have many friends and colleagues, who are non-Buddhists, and there are also many people I still rely on who are not Buddhists. For example, when I fall sick, I need to go see a doctor, and I can't avoid going to a doctor who is non-Buddhist.
Okay, over here, when it says not relying on non-Buddhist practitioner, it doesn't mean that you cannot seek help or advice from them to solve your daily problems. Okay, so for example, when you fall sick, you can still seek help from doctors who are non-Buddhist. Okay, you can still go and see a doctor who is a non-Buddhist. Okay, here what it means is that you do not rely on them for guidance when what they say is contradictory to the Buddha's teachings. Okay, so for example, if this doctor or anyone tells you that there's no such thing as rebirth, you only live once, then you shouldn't follow his advice.
Got it. And Venerable, maybe back on your first point, you mentioned that we should not go to other deities for refuge. However, in our Singapore society today, you know how Buddhism and Taoism always seems to be slightly intertwined from a cultural aspect. Does that mean, if I take refuge in the Buddha, I should not pray to Tian Gong or to Di Gong?
Okay, for this one, we need to be clear, why are we praying? Okay, so there are actually different forms of praying. So for example, if we offer incense to Tian Gong or to Di Gong, okay, to express our gratitude to them, okay, or to thank them for their help, that actually doesn't contravene our refuge. Tian Gong is also known as Indra, okay, in Sanskrit. He's actually a very important disciple of the Buddha, and he's also a very important Dharma protector. He has helped the Buddha many times in the past when the Buddha was practicing the Bodhisattva deeds. And then when the Buddha gained enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, you may have heard this story. Actually, after the Buddha gained enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, the Buddha hesitated to give teachings, okay, because the Buddha realized that the teachings are very profound and sentient beings may not be able to understand it. Okay, so that's why the Buddha spent 7 weeks under the Bodhi tree, right, without giving any teachings. Okay, luckily, Brahma and Indra came to implore the Buddha to teach. Okay, and then because of their sincere request, the Buddha then went to Sanath and started the first turning of the Dharma wheel. Then similarly for Tu Di Gong, the earth god, he also helped the Buddha when the Buddha was challenged by Mara while he was meditating under the Bodhi tree. Okay, so we must be very grateful to them. Yeah, so when we pray to them, we can express our gratitude to them by offering incense or bowing to them. Okay, but as a Buddhist, we only take refuge in the three jewels. If we need guidance or help in our spiritual practice, we should supplicate and pray to the Buddha, not to Tian Gong or to any other gods. Then similarly, on the same note, we can also offer incense and bow to our ancestors and deceased parents to express our gratitude to them. Okay, but we don't take refuge in them. Okay, and then on the point that you mentioned about Buddhism and Taoism being intertwined culturally, as a Buddhist, we must be able to differentiate Buddhism from other religions such as Taoism and Hinduism. Buddhism is different from these other religions. We have our distinct and, may I say, superior teachings and deities and spiritual objectives. Okay, so that is why after taking refuge, we must undertake the trainings of the refuge. One of the training is to learn the Buddha's teachings from an excellent teacher so that we are clear about what Buddhism is and what being a Buddhist is all about.
Thanks very much. I think that really clears our doubt, and it was very interesting listening to those stories. So I guess moving forward, how can we undertake the training to actually learn the Buddha's teachings?
Yes, that will be the next training of refuge. Okay, rely on excellent teachers, listen to the teachings, contemplate on the teachings properly, and then put the teachings into practice. Okay, and how can we do this in practice? Okay, the answer is to find a Dharma center, Buddhist organization, where there is an excellent teacher, and then the excellent teacher is giving teachings on the complete path to Buddhahood, and then there's also a community of fellow practitioners learning from the excellent teacher. And this group of people, this group of fellow practitioners, they can encourage and help each other along.
Okay. Venerable, nowadays, there are many teachings actually already available on the internet, and I can just watch, YouTube videos and learn the teachings from, the many Buddhist websites out there. Is it really necessary to go to all these Dharma centers to learn the teachings?
Yes, it is still necessary. Okay, the reason why we can't just learn the Buddha's teachings on our own, watching YouTube, okay, reading articles from website, is because the purpose of learning the Buddha's teachings is to use it to transform your character into one that is wiser, more compassionate, more optimistic, and happier. And you cannot transform your character simply through reading a book or watching a video. You transform yourself through being inspired by the teacher and then through peer influence from fellow practitioners after learning the teachings. Okay, sometimes we also call it mind-to-mind transmission. Okay, you need to have someone there to learn from. Okay, so for this to happen, you need to learn and practice the Buddha's teachings in the excellent teacher, complete teachings, and harmonious community environment. Okay, yeah, the one that you see here in the slide. If you just learn the Buddha's teachings on your own, you can gain a lot of Buddhist knowledge. This one, I do not deny that. Okay, but whether you can use that, what you have learned, to transform your character into a wiser and happier person, that is a big question by itself. You can become a very good Buddhist professor, but you may not be good at transforming your mind and character using the Buddha's teachings.
Okay. Thanks, Venerable. Yeah, I think understand that to learn Buddhism is not only about acquiring the knowledge of the teachings, but actually also learning the practical aspects of applying it and eventually transforming yourself. So I guess in a sense, even though we are learning a lot of things from these insightful VenTalks, it is best that, we also can supplement these sessions by finding an organization and community with like-minded people who we can learn together with. So can Venerable suggest any such organizations that our audience watching here can also join?
Yes, yeah. Don't stop at watching VenTalk. Please join a Buddhist center where there's an excellent teacher guiding you using the Buddha's excellent teachings. And what is one of these organizations? Of course, BW Monastery. The BW Monastery is such an organization. Over here, the objective of our Dharma classes is not just to teach Buddhism as a knowledge. We provide this complete environment to enable our students to use the Buddha's teachings to transform themselves into a happier, wiser, and more compassionate person. And then in the process, they will also create the karma to come back into this environment life after life, so that they can continue their learning into their next life and even beyond that. And then on the students' part, what they do in our Dharma class is to put into practice this training of refuge. Okay, rely on excellent teachers, listen to the teachings, contemplate on the teachings properly, and then putting the teachings into practice. Our Buddhism classes are actually the entry point into this environment, this teaching community environment. So if anyone is interested to join us, please look out for our next series of new classes.
Yes, and personally, after having been part of BW Monastery's Dharma class for almost 10 years, I can say it really does help to have classmates learning together with you, because we can motivate each other to keep on learning the Dharma and to persist on whenever we face any challenges from practicing it. Yeah. So maybe Venerable, one last question before we end. While all that you said above sounds very reasonable, but when I look at all the things that we need to do after taking refuge, it seems a bit difficult to be a Buddhist. I mean, shouldn't the Buddha bless me and give me happiness after I take refuge in him? Why should I still need to do all those that Venerable has asked us to do in order to find happiness? I'm busy enough with my life, and sometimes after I become a Buddhist, I expect that Buddha has the wisdom and compassion to give me happiness, but it seems that I still need to work very hard to find this happiness.
When you expect to become happy through the Buddha blessing you, this kind of happiness is actually seeking happiness from external sources, okay, from external means. Can the Buddha bless you to give you this kind of happiness? Yes, if you have enough faith in the Buddha. We covered this when we talked about developing faith in last month's VenTalk. Okay, but there's still a problem with this. Okay, the problem with external happiness is that it is impermanent. The kind of happiness that the Buddha ultimately wants to give us is permanent happiness. There is the happiness that comes from transforming your character into a wiser and more compassionate person. And then in order to change yourself, you yourself need to put in the effort. Okay, you need to learn how and what to change. The Buddha cannot change you. Okay, the Buddha can only teach you. You have to learn and then put in the effort to change yourself. This is the only way to find permanent happiness. It is the happiness that comes from being free from afflictions and then ultimately being liberated from the cycle of birth and death. Okay, and then the way to change yourself is through learning and practicing the Dharma, taking one step at a time. Okay, so that is why the Buddha says, okay, the Buddha is the one who teaches refuge, and the community assists you in accomplishing refuge. Okay, but the real refuge is the jewel of the teaching, because once you have attained it, you are liberated from fear. So how do you start becoming happier? This is what the second paragraph here is saying. Okay, with regard to this, the ultimate teaching jewel is defined as being the special fulfillment of the gradual increase of two things. The beginning practitioner's elimination of a mere portion of faults and his or her knowledge that brings about a mere portion of good qualities. This is not something that happens adventitiously. Okay, so what this is saying is this. You take the immediate step that is within your reach, one step at a time. Okay, do not think that a virtuous act is too trivial to do, or any non-virtuous act is too small to cause any harm. Okay, so start with what you can do, no matter how trivial or how easy you think it is. Over time, you will have bigger and bigger improvements, and then you will be able to do bigger and bigger virtuous acts. Okay, and then finally, you will attain the permanent happiness that the Buddha wants us to attain. Okay, but the good news is that you will start becoming happier once you start taking the first step. And then you will become happier and happier with every step you take. You do not actually have to wait until you reach the final goal to be happy. Okay, so do not be discouraged by the need to put in effort to learn and change yourself. Okay, remember, it's a gradual improvement process. You are not expected to live up to the standard immediately after you learn of it.
Thank you, Venerable, once again for the encouragement. And with that, I think our time is up. Thank you all for listening and attending today's VenTalk. I think attending today's VenTalk is a step in the right direction for everyone. So congrats to all of you. So maybe let me do a summary before we of what we have learned tonight before we end with a dedication led by Venerable. So in summary, I think the benefits of learning the training of refuge is what we will become a happier and happier person through gradual improvements of ourselves. You know, we are not expected to achieve the high standards immediately, but to take the immediate step that is within our reach, no matter how small or trivial that is. And with regards to training for refuge, we can do things like daily activities by making offerings and supplications to the three jewels. We also need to have proper behavior towards the three jewels, which is to respect all objects related to the three jewels. And after taking refuge, we do not take refuge in other gods, teachings, or practitioners. And lastly, we need to learn the Buddha's teachings after taking refuge by learning from excellent teachers, to learn and practice the teachings with fellow practitioners also. And one organization that we can do that is BW Monastery. Okay, so with that, let us invite Venerable to lead us in the dedication.
Okay, so let us do dedication. Okay, so please remain focused. Okay, may these profound merits and virtues be dedicated to all sentient beings. May we eliminate all karmic obstacles and together may we attain the state of Buddhahood. Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. Good night.
Thank you. Good night. Thanks, Venerable.